Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope that everybody finds this show in good spirits. Let's be real, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing, and we need all the blessings we can get nowadays, okay? It seems like every day now there is a mass tragedy going on or has happened. There was one that happened yesterday, and now we got something that happened in Dallas right now as we speak. So we are here to talk about that. There's a press conference that's going to be happening here in just a few moments, or in just a few minutes, I'm assuming. I just want to show you guys showing you proof positive. We're waiting on the press conference, but I do want to give you guys a quick breakdown of what actually happened this morning. This is absolutely insane. So please do me a favor. Before we get into everything, do me a solid, okay? Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, please do me a solid. Okay, hit that like button down below. Hit that reaction button. Hit that follow button on those platforms. Don't forget to subscribe here on my YouTube channel. All right, go to my second and third channel. The first one's called The Pascal Show Clips. The second one's called The Pascal Raw. Please go and subscribe to those channels. Hit that notification bell on all these platforms as well. Set them to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload. That'll be greatly appreciated. All right. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. PascalMerch.com. Okay, guys, we got to get straight into this. This is absolutely insane. There is going to be a press conference here fairly shortly. And if it starts before I get through everything, what will most likely have to happen is we're going to be a little late to the press conference. But nonetheless, we are here to give you guys, or we are all here to understand what the hell actually happened here and why this whole thing went down. Now, what we understand so far is that 2 people have lost their lives at a Dallas ICE facility. 2 people, okay? Then there's the assailant themselves is no longer on this planet as well. I want to make that abundantly clear, okay? So 3 people are gone, but 2, they say, are gone. 2 victims. And then the assailant also turned the weapon on themselves, okay? So that's just one thing I want to make sure it's abundantly clear. Now, what's interesting too is that there's some reports that 1 person has passed. There's reports of 2. There's even reports of 3. But like I said, this is still ongoing. This is still brand new. And of course, when we get more information, we're going to be hearing a lot of it at this press conference here very shortly. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you guys the breakdown here very quickly. And of course, if we got time and space, like I said, time and space, which it looks like they're about to go into this press conference very, very shortly. So I want to give you guys a quick synopsis before we look at this press conference. Number 1, a person was pulling the trigger from an elevated position. All right. So kind of like what Tyler Robinson did. So they were sitting at an elevated position, aiming down at the facility. And they aimed, and they say multiple people were hit. 2 people lost their lives. And that he turned the weapon on himself. So this is what we know so far. Do we know a motive? No. Do we know why he did this particular assailant did what they did? No. Do we know the name of the person? No. But I'm sure we're going to get all that here in just a minute. Don't worry. I'm going to give you guys all the details in just a little bit. But the press conference is happening now. So let's get into it right now. I just got word of this just like 15 minutes ago and was trying to get everything set up so I could get here and watch this and give you guys the news as quickly as possible. So this is breaking news. And again, I know I say this over and over and over again, okay? But we need to find a different way to express ourselves. Because clearly this is some sort of political terroristic act. That's what I think. This is some sort of political statement, right? But I digress. Let's get into this, shall we? Don't forget to hit the like. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Okay, follow. And let's rock and roll.
Let me start off by saying that I'm a person who believes very, very strongly in the power of prayer, and that prayer changes things. And so I'm going to ask everyone.
What the hell is going on with this delay? Hold on, let me see if I can find a better one real quick. That's trash. That is trash.
Hey, thank you.
Okay.
To all.
Not the greatest.
We know them that happened this morning.
All right, let's rock and roll.
All right. Let me start off by saying that I'm a person who believes very, very strongly in the power of prayer, and that prayer changes things. And so I'm going to ask everyone, please join me in praying for the families of the folks who lost their lives today. Pray for the speedy recovery for those who are hurt and were injured in what happened today. But maybe even more to the point, we're a country and a city that needs prayer. So I'm going to ask you all to join me also in praying for this city, that we can come together at a time like this, and that we can be there for one another the way we always have in times like this, to support one another, help us all get through this very difficult time, not just in our city, but in our country. And that's why I'd ask you to pray for our nation. There's a lot going on right now in our country. A lot of it's confusing. It's a scary time. I've got children. I've got 3 young children. And I'm here to tell you that it is challenging to explain to them what's going on in our country right now. But I said before, and I'll say it again, I believe in the power of prayer to change things. And it can change the hearts of people. It can change this country. It can change the city. So please pray for everyone who's affected by today's tragedy. I also want to say thank you to the Dallas Police Department, and say thank you to the Dallas Sheriff's Department, Dallas County Sheriff's Department, Texas Department of Public Safety, and all of our various federal law enforcement partners who acted so quickly today to make sure that today's tragedy wasn't worse than what it was. So on behalf of the city of Dallas, I want to say thank you to all of you. And you're going to hear from some of those folks later, but I want to let you know that we appreciate what you all do, not just today, but every day, to help keep us all safe. And lastly, and this is really important, I would ask all of the city of Dallas residents who can hear me right now, let's be patient, let's remain calm, and let's let our law enforcement partners, our police department, do their job. This is an active investigation. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. And I want to encourage all of you to exercise a little bit of restraint and allow them to do their job to help make sure this continues to be a safe city, and that they can help us figure out what happened here today. But with that, I want to say, again, thank you to all the folks who came out this morning from our law enforcement community. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Daniel Como, to speak a little bit more directly to the investigation itself. And with that, Chief Como, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a assist the officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI field office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart from the ICE Enforcement and Removal Office.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities. And I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees.
This is insane, y'all.
So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
No questions?
Thank you all so much. As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you. Thank you.
No questions? Okay, I was going to say.
This needs to stop.
Here we go.
Violence is wrong.
I'm surprised he's here.
Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. to every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe. The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences. I hope that every one of us will pray, number one, for the safety of law enforcement that are risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe. And we should not be putting language out there that inspires madmen to commit evil crimes. Our prayers are with the men and women of law enforcement, and we ought to come together and have some decency across the political aisle.
Yes.
To say this violence is wrong and it needs to stop.
Senator, have you been told that?
Thank you for saying that.
My understanding is the details of who the victims are still being ascertained, so I don't want to go ahead of law enforcement releasing these details. What they have said is that no law enforcement was injured, and so that's a natural inference, but I don't know the details.
So a detainee lost their life. Sorry.
So I'm not going to go into any more details at this time. We will come back to you when we have more details to share.
Come
Again,
on.
our goal here will be transparency as those details become available. But we are still in the early stages of an investigation. Information is still coming in. When we have more details, we will come back to this group. I'm not going to be identifying victims at this time. The only thing I will confirm at this time is no law enforcement was injured. Certainly you can respect law enforcement's need to make notifications. At this point in time, we're not going to take any additional questions from law enforcement. Again, I'd ask for you to respect the fact that this is an ongoing investigation. And as more details come available,
We're not asking for the names of the victims.
I understand. I will.
If the victims are the detainees.
The only thing I can say right now is no law enforcement was injured.
In other words,
part of the attack.
the
I won't be taking any
detainees.
more questions. Neither will law enforcement this time. We'll come back to you later today or in the coming days when we have additional information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay, guys, we got some things to break down. All right. That was kind of a trashy. I'm sorry. That press conference, I understand there's a lot of things that are still, in the works. An investigation is still ongoing. This just happened. So there's a lot of information that they need to gather before they really expose everything. But I'm going to tell you this. They said that they around 6:40 a.m. basically all hell broke loose. Okay, that this assailant, they say, from an elevated position. So in other words, he was up high somewhere in a building, somewhere on top of a roof of some sort. He took aim at this facility. Now they're saying that no detainees, or sorry, not detainees. I'm sorry. No ICE agents or faculty members or anything. They said none of them actually lost their lives. So you can easily do the math and go, so who could it be? Either it's somebody who was just a bystander that was just walking down the street or walking in that area, or even a protester. Let's not forget that too, because there are protesters out at these ICE facilities all throughout the country, by the way, or it was an actual detainee that lost their life. Now, I know we could take that easy route and just assume that is a detainee. I think that's the easiest assumption, right? That's easy math. If it's not ICE, if it's not an ICE agent, then it must be somebody else, right? It must be a detainee, right? Well, one, I feel like it's safe to assume that, okay? I really do. I think it's safe to assume that. But I also think that we got to wait for more information from 5-0 when they give us that information. But I do truly think that is a detainee. I'm sorry. Okay, this is just me shooting from the hip. You know, I'm not wearing the tinfoil hat. You just do the easy math. It's safe to say, it's safe to believe, or I wouldn't say it's wrong for us to think that it's a detainee, but it could be other factors. Let's not forget that. They say that this was a targeted attack. And also, let's just say this too, okay? And that's true, Nicole B. Not all ICE facilities have detainees, but we talking about Texas, Dallas, Texas. You don't think they got detainees in Dallas, Texas? Come on now. You really don't think they have detainees in Dallas, Texas? We talk about Texas. That's real, you know what I mean? That state's real close to Mexico. I'm just saying. Now, of course, you're right. They may not have anything. They may not have any detainees, but, you know, they've been working in overtime, though. Okay? They've been working overtime, ICE. They have. Now, Big Migs, what's up, my man? What's up, dude? CNN is reporting it was detainees. Well, we'll see all about that. We're going to take a look at CNN's reporting, but at the same time, you know, we got to be careful. CNN can sometimes, for no pun intended, okay, but they tend sometimes to shoot from the hip, okay? No pun intended, but they tend to do that, you know? They'll be like, clearly the man was white, and it's like, no, that guy was black. And I'm talking about the NFL building tragedy. That man was black, okay, and very messed up in his mind, okay? But that's another conversation in itself right there, all right? One thing's for sure. This person was definitely 110%, most definitely inspired by Tyler Robinson. Now, some of y'all might be like, well, why? Why do you say that, Pascal? Say it ain't so. That's not true. That's not true. That can't be true. Well, it is, actually, if you really think about it. Two different things. Numero uno. The fact that that guy was this assailant, we don't know if it's male or female, probably male, but they were taking aim, okay? They were taking aim from an elevated position. What did Tyler Robitussin do? How did he take out Charlie Kirk? Just do the math really quick. That's numero uno. Numero dos is this. They say that the guy wrote some anti-ICE sayings, messages on the actual ammo that he used to take aim at this ICE facility. So do the math. Elevated position, messages written, scrolled onto the ammunition that he used to take aim at this ICE facility. Now, here's the thing. So, some people are saying, oh, that's all BS, that's lies. Well, we'll see about all that, right? We'll see all about that, right? But they're not giving us much information, y'all. The information here is sad because they're not giving us anything. They haven't given us a damn thing. Real talk, they haven't. They won't even let us know who the victims are. Now, of course, they're saying CNN is saying something different. we'll see about all that. But they didn't really give us much information. They could have done that whole press conference in the length of a very short TikTok video. Real talk. They could have done all that, and they could have given one person going, yes, we got breaking news, and they could have just said everything in less than a minute and a half. Less than 90 seconds, they could have done all that. Now, one thing I want to point out, hold on, before I go away from this press conference, I want to point something out. Number one, they didn't give us not a damn thing, okay? They didn't give us nothing except for he wrote things on on his ammunition. This particular person is gone. He gone, okay? And that he hit other people. 2 victims, from my understanding. See, this is the part that I hate more than anything, when they sit here and they say, oh, yeah, 2 victims, including the assailant. I'm sitting there going like, wait a second. Does that mean 2 victims? And then you add on top of it the monster that was pulling the trigger. So that's 3 people gone. Or does that mean 2, including the assailant? I get that mixed up all the time. I hate when they do that because it's like, wait a second. I'm trying to do the simple math, but the way you say it makes it sound like it's 3, but it could just be 2. Right? So we'll see. But I still get that confused all the time. Right? So 1 unalived, 1 injured, and then he unalived himself. Okay. That could very well be what it is too. Right? You know what I mean? It is. Yeah, it is word salad. And you're like, what is that? What the hell does that mean? Say it specifically. 1 gone. The assailant as well is gone. And then another person injured. Right? Or no? Now, one thing I want to point out, okay, before, I don't want to off-road on semantics here, okay? Nonetheless, tragedy ensued, and it should not have happened. It's absolute trash, in my personal opinion, all right? But something about Ted Cruz. We got to talk about Ted Cruz. First off, I'm surprised he ain't in Cancun right now. Surprised he's here. Maybe it's because the weather's warm. Okay, I'm done roasting him, okay? But one thing that he did say that I appreciated him saying, which I wish he was at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, because it would have been nice to have this conversation and these words spouted out at Charlie Kirk's memorial. It would have been really nice, right? He said, it's time for us to join hands from across the aisle. Stop, get past our political differences and find peace. He basically said, can't we all just get along? He did his own version of Rodney King. Okay? And I agree with that. I do. Man, it would have been nice to hear that at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. It would have been nice, but that didn't happen. Lot of division. Sorry, guys. Okay. May that man rest in peace. Prayers go out to his family. Family should not be burying their own loved one like this in this kind of way. But that memorial service, oh my God. That was WWE's version of division because of all the fireworks and stuff, right? It's very interesting. But that's just what I experienced, what I saw. All right? There was a lot of division. I wish Ted Cruz was there saying this right here at this memorial, because we need to hear that more than ever right now. We need unity, not division. So I appreciate him saying this, but this is insane, right? What's going on in these streets are insane. And now you have somebody else going out of their way, inspired by what happened to Charlie Kirk, which also was inspired by Luigi Mangione. Let's not forget, he wrote things on the ammunition before he pulled the trigger on the CEO of United Healthcare, right? So it trickles down or it trickles up. I don't know. But they were all getting inspired by each other. So they say that this guy wrote, or this person wrote things, messages of basically anti-ICE words or something of that sort on these bullets that he used to go after that ICE facility. So clearly, I would think it's safe to say, if they're telling 110% the truth, that this attack was indeed targeted specifically for those ICE agents. But they're saying no ICE agent or any person that works at that facility lost their life or were injured. So who else could it be? Who were the victims, right? So let's take a look, because now we got to hop over to CNN real quick to see what the story is right quick on that. Hold on one second. This is the one thing I hate about. There we go. CNN the website likes to trip. So they're saying here, one victim gone. At least 2 more are injured. Okay? So let's take a look at this. So they say, what we know so far, officials are giving updates after they already did. Okay? At least 1 victim is gone and 2 others injured, according to authorities. At least 2 detainees were among the victims. Hey, whoa. I did not mean to hit the rim shot. I meant to hit that. 2 detainees among the victims. Okay? At least 2 of them. According to 2 law enforcement officials with knowledge of the incident. So this is from an insider. This is an inside scoop, because they did not give us any information about any detainees being hit. Let's be real. Okay? So hold on. Let me get a little bit of coffee in me. It's been a long night last night, guys. So here it is. At least 2 detainees among the victims. 2 detainees. So whoever was up at an elevated position was not a good shot. Or they were just pulling the trigger wild. Because that's sad. Because you got detainees that lost their lives. And they're just being detained. Right? Yeah. The ones that were locked up, shackled, etc. They're the ones who are losing their lives, or they're the ones who are fighting for their lives right now. No ICE agent, none of them are injured. Detainees are. So again, let me repeat that again. At least 2 detainees are among the victims that were hit. And of course, this is subject to change. Let me just say this too, because this is just kind of coming from the rumor mill, from a source, if that makes any sense. So 2 law enforcement officials with knowledge of the incident. So obviously we already know about the assailant. The assailant is gone. They turned the weapon onto themselves. Okay. And this is coming from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. She confirmed that as well. DHS official said the assailant opened fire from an elevated position. Now, this is something that we've all heard already so far. But again, this is all somebody who's getting inspired by what happened a couple weeks ago. So we're back at all this crap all over again. FBI says this was an act of targeted violence. So they say that this whole thing that happened at the ICE facility in downtown Dallas is believed to be a targeted attack. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. Early evidence that we have seen from rounds that were found near the suspected monster contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. The FBI did not provide further details on what was written on the ammunition, which would be nice. Okay? Which would be nice. No, I'm not going after any conservatives, Auntie. I'm not going after any conservatives. I'm not saying that it's the conservatives' fault, okay? Not at all. All I'm saying is it'd be nice if we could all just find ways to get along on this planet, because we're all spinning in the same direction and we're all in this mucky muck together, okay? If the country's winning, we all are winning. If the country's not winning, we are not winning. We all are not winning, okay? So again, this is not me going after conservatives or no, I got better things to do. And why would I do that when all I'm sitting here saying for the last 2 weeks is that we need to come together as a country? I'm just saying that event, there was a lot of divisiveness going on in their speeches. Listen to them again. Okay? I think there was only like 1 or 2 that was not as divisive. But that's just me. And like I said, I'm not sitting here going, this is all the conservatives' fault. Nah, this is all of us fault. All right? This is a big problem that needs to get figured out as soon as possible. Because it's not only people on the conservatives' side that are losing their lives. Now we're getting detainees that are losing their lives. Innocent lives are getting vanquished off the planet because of people's political views. This is getting bad, and it needs to change as soon as possible. That's why I'm saying Ted Cruz said something that we all need to agree on, that we need to start reaching from across the aisle, showing love to each other, bring unity back into the conversation instead of going the damn conservatives or them damn leftists, right? So I'm not going after anybody. I'm just talking about us as a country and as a world. All right? Yeah, we need to stop falling for the rhetoric and start falling for good and falling for the hearts of people and falling for love. We need to fall back in love with people, with each other. You know what I mean? I know that sounds weird, how good people really are. But that's another conversation, right? Judge not by the color of their politics, but by the content of their character. That's what we need to do more than ever. But let me continue. No law enforcement officers were injured in this situation. So again, they're saying detainees were hit, not law enforcement. That's something. So none of the people that were hit this morning at this tragedy, okay, were members of law enforcement. FBI Dallas Special Agent in charge, Joe Rothrock, said, okay, though officials are not yet confirming the identities of the victims. This will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. I'm kind of wondering, how did this guy get up? Okay. Like, how did the guy get up to the top of the roof? Okay. What roof was this? How did he get access to this roof? Right? I'm kind of curious about that. Now, if there is glitching going on, just refresh the feed and hop back in. Okay. Because everything's running just fine over here. My internet is solid today. Okay. So let's be patient and remain calm. This is what the mayor said. So let's remain calm as law enforcement conduct the investigation into what happened this morning at this ICE facility in Dallas. Let's see if what's the new update. So 1 has lost their life. 2 have been injured in ICE facility shooting, according to Dallas police. And of course, the shooter, this monster, is also gone. So Dallas police said 1 person is gone. 2 people are hospitalized with injuries after this tragedy. Homeland Security, of course, we already heard her say the suspect passed away from turning the weapon onto himself. Multiple law enforcement officials told CNN that people unalived was the person unalived was a detainee. They say at approximately 6:40 a.m. local time, we received an assist the officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were hit, 2 of them deceased, including the assailant. And this is what they said. The chief said at a press conference, with the press conference we just heard. DDP quickly was able to locate this assailant, who was indeed deceased. Now, again, I don't know what the heck is going on, why this particular person did what they did. But of course, we're going to find out more information here very, very soon. And of course, I'm going to see if there's any news, any more news outside of this, right? But before we get into that, let me get some of these super chats here really, really quick. Michelle Woods, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. Okay. Actually, I'm going to check NBC as well here in just a minute. Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. Ted Cruz should be saying all that should have been saying that all that to the Trump regime, but we all know cowards never stand up to Trump and his accomplices. I mean, let's be real. It would have been nice, like I said, it just would have been nice to hear somebody say something about unity, right? And I think I feel like that should be the energy and the message going forward. Instead of it being, the damn left, or, leftist losers, or the violent left, or the radical left, you know what I mean? All the stuff that we've been hearing as of late, I think we needed, I feel like our elected officials need to start changing their vernacular and changing the way they speak, because it could turn into very, very dangerous. It could turn very, very dangerous. That's all I'm saying. Okay. We need to start changing things big time. All of us do. Okay. IV4, thank you so much. Tommy Boy took a bag of $50,000 in cash. DHS. Well, DHS is a joke. I mean, I don't know exactly what that means, to be honest, but interesting. Interesting, IV4. Nicole, you should be a war reporter. It would be interesting, but no, I would never want to be dodging bullets while trying to report the news, right? And there should be no war, right? But I appreciate you saying that, Nicole. I appreciate it. Grateful. Thank you so much for the love. We are all connected. We bleed the same. We hurt the same. Enough with the he said, she said stuff by some. It's garbage talk. I agree. Know that the new media is social media, and don't let it influence. Yeah, you ain't wrong. I mean, it's definitely about the stuff that we're pouring into our ears every single day. You know what I mean? I just say be mindful of the rhetoric or the stuff that you're consuming in your brain, that you're listening to every day. Because there's a lot of people out there that are just putting out a lot of nothing but venom. Nothing about positivity, nothing about unity. It's just that side, that side, that side all the time, right? And it's both sides that are doing it. It's both sides. Real talk. So that's why it's like, yeah, every once in a while, or every chance you get, you just need to do a palate cleanser. That's what I think. Okay? Do a palate cleanser. Let's take a look at NBC. So, of course, this is just the stuff that they know. Let me just hit that refresh button here real quick. So 3 were hit, which we already know about. They say 2 people are gone, but they're saying including the assailant, all right, who died from he turned the weapon onto himself. So we already know about that. Okay. No ICE officers were hurt at this tragedy. So in other words, detainees were hit. Okay, round found near the assailant who was gone when police arrived. They said these messages are of anti-ICE nature or anti-ICE in nature. He added that the attack was an act of targeted violence. The victims' identities will not be released at this time, but Rothrock said no law enforcement personnel were hurt during the attack. So this assailant fired multiple rounds from a nearby roof or an elevated position down into the field office's Sally port. This is what an ICE spokesperson confirmed. The motive behind this tragedy or what this assailant was targeting is not immediately clear. But if he's putting out anti-ICE rhetoric or sayings on, scribed onto ammunition, I think it's safe to say that, he was definitely leaning, or they were definitely leaning to one side for sure. Okay. Now, obviously, some people can look at this and go, it's all a big setup. That's all BS and not true. But we'll see about all that, right? We'll see about that. Steve, thank you so much for the love. Was this a target at the detainees, not the agents? That's the thing I'm kind of curious about as well. Why are the detainees getting hit and not the ICE, excuse me, and not the ICE officials, ICE agents? That doesn't make any sense to me at all, right? That doesn't make any sense. Does it make sense to you? Because it don't make sense to me. Doesn't make any sense. You're taking aim. The bullets are saying anti-ICE sayings, but detainees are hit, not ICE agents. Huh? That's a little bit of a... Make that make sense, y'all. Because it don't make no dumb sense. It doesn't. Unless, like I said earlier, unless this particular person was just a really bad shot. That's possible too. But diggity damn, he was a terrible shot. Think about it. You're aiming from an elevated position. So clearly you got some sort of long rifle, right? Unless you're just pulling a trigger with like a hand weapon, handgun. Like that would be dumb. But criminals are dumb, right? So it wouldn't make any sense unless he's just literally aimlessly taking aim at a group of people and he just opened fire. You see what I'm saying? He either is a terrible shot or he just wanted to cause mayhem for the sake of causing mayhem. But the only people that were actually hit were detainees, not actual ICE agents. Now, I could see people taking that and running with that and going, oh, snap, that means such and such. I don't know, guys. Amina just said, you're trying to make sense of something that likely isn't meant to make sense. You might be right on that. You might be right on that. But it sounds like this person either has no experience using that weapon, right? And just is a terrible shot. Or this is when the tinfoil hat comes on, right? And that is like, well, I think that maybe the detainees were the actual target, but these written notes on the weapon or on the ammunition was there just as a ruse, right? To throw people off, for us to automatically assume that this is coming from some radicalized left individual, right? But maybe the writing on the bullets is just to throw everybody off. A fugazi, as some would say. I don't know about all that. I don't know. Either this guy was a terrible shot or something sinister, really messed up is going on. I don't know. Bernice, thank you so much for being a member for the past almost a whole year. I appreciate it. Hi, Pascal. Hi, how you doing? Wow, how time flies. Hope all is well with you and your family. Thank you for everything you do for us. Of course. Thank you so much. Hey, there's no other place I'd rather be. That's a lie. I'd rather be in bed sleeping right now, but I'm happy to be here to give you guys the news. And you know how it is. You hope that the more we talk about these things and cover these things, you hope that it'll inspire others to stop doing this crazy stuff, right? So again, very wild stuff. Let's see if there's any updates. They say no immediate IDs of the actual victims. Authorities did not immediately identify victims of Wednesday's shooting, which they should. Okay? Which they should. And Michelle, yes, I already read it. I already went through it and read it. Just so you know. So you might have to hit that rewind. Okay? But again, yeah, they're not willing to put out the identity of the victims that were hit at this situation. They said while we're not releasing identities of any victims at the time, we can confirm for you what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack, which clearly means that detainees were hit. So no, it wasn't like the secretaries, there was no like the office, administration office, no workers or anything like that, no agents, no nothing. So again, we could do the reverse math and come up with our own assumption, which of course is just a calculated guess. And we're hearing from CNN that it was detainees that were hit, but I feel like it's easy for us to look at this and go, yeah, detainees were hit then. If it wasn't ICE, then it was detainees. But now I'm seeing you guys in the chat saying maybe they're lying. Maybe they're lying about that. Maybe they don't want people knowing that ICE agents were hit because they don't want to inspire more people to do this again. Maybe, I don't know. But the fact that they're saying detainees were, or like that ICE agents were not hit, it's interesting. All right. Any piece of information would be helpful, he told the reporters. This will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. Did this guy rock all by himself? Maybe. At least 5 shell casings were found at the Dallas tragedy, one of which had anti-ICE written on it in blue ink. So it just said anti-ICE. That's it. Just anti-ICE. Hold on. There it is. Interesting, guys. And this is coming from Cash Patel. So hold up. Hold up. Okay. So at least 5 shell casings were found at this tragedy, one of which had anti-ICE written on it in blue ink, according to a photo of the casings FBI Director Cash Patel shared on X. While the investigation is still ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. This is what Patel put out. So he says, this morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, which we already know, taking the life of one, wounding several others before turning the weapon onto himself. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. Hold on. While the investigation is still ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. See the photo below. It says anti-ICE right there. One of the unspent shell casings, why am I saying shellings? Shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. these despicable, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We are only miles from Prairie Land, Texas, where just 2 months ago an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel was injured. I don't know how I like that. I don't know if I like that sentence. I'm going to be real. Okay. Please pray for the injured and deceased. It's like, thank God they're okay. Right. I don't like how that's phrased. You know what I mean? I get what he's saying, but I don't like how that's phrased. What about the people that lost their lives? What about the detainee that lost their life and the two others that are fighting for their lives? You see what I'm saying? It just makes me feel some type of way. I'm just going to keep it a bean. Okay? That's all. But that's interesting. Anti-ICE is written on one of the shell casings. There it is. Now, some are going to say that this is staged. We'll see about that. Let's see if there's another update. Witness said she heard like 20 shots in a row as she waited for her husband to return from ICE appointment. See, this makes sense right here. It makes sense right here. Why some people might have gotten hit. Why some people might have gotten hit at that place. 20 shots in a row as she waited for her husband to return from an ICE appointment, because people were going in and out of that place, I'm sure. So Ariane, Syria, said she was in her car with her 9-year-old son waiting for her husband to return from an appointment at the ICE facility in Dallas this morning when a series of shots rang out shortly after 6 a.m. local time. The shots began at around 6:10 a.m. There were like 20 shots in a row. This is what she told NBC News in Spanish. From the scene, I sheltered myself under the car with my son. She said police then came and sheltered them in the ICE facility. Syria said she and her family came to the U.S. to flee violence from her own home country. She prayed to God to keep everyone safe. Thank you. Thank God my family's okay, she said with tears streaming down her face. It's crazy. But there it is again. So, of course, I can see now, I mean, I feel like the guys who are ICE agents, they're clearly, I'm sure, wearing tactical gear. They're showing that it maybe says ICE in bold white letters or yellow letters on their uniforms. Whoever took aim didn't give a damn who he was hitting. Now, could that be? Let's go back to that photo, because I know some of y'all are saying it's a bolt action rifle that was used. Can you tell from this ammo? Something very strange is going on, for sure. Something very strange is going on. And it makes you wonder why this whole thing is going on, the way it went down. Are they giving us all the information? Okay. Are they giving us all the information? Or are we just getting pieces? I mean, clearly we're getting pieces, but are we getting a premeditated pieces, if that makes any sense? Why would no agents be hurt if this was an anti-ICE attack? Why would no agents be hurt? And now I'm not asking for the agents to get hurt. I'm not asking for anyone to get hurt. But given the information that they've given us, It says anti-ice scrolled onto one of the shell casings. Unspent round. But detainees are the ones that lost their lives or that are fighting for their lives with severe injuries at a hospital. That seems a little bit odd, don't you think? Or am I just the only one who sees that? Something strange is going on. Okay? I don't know. I guess what we're going to need to do is let law enforcement do what they need to do. Hopefully there's going to be more information that comes out here very, very soon. Okay? But the information is very odd. Anti-ice, but detainees are the ones that got hit. No ICE agents were hurt in this situation. Either this person's an idiot and a terrible shot, or something else is going on. I don't know. But hopefully we find out more information. Whitney Woods, no, Pascal, not to be morbid, but I wonder what was in the order. Oh, okay. What was in the other bullets that hurt the people? That's a good question too. Like, what were the shell casings there? Were there phrases written on that as well? I'm wondering. Okay. I'm wondering that as well. You know? Because it's so odd that you find that on the ground. Anti-ice, you find it on the ground, just right there on the, the shell casings, and that's all she wrote. It just seems, like I said, it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit odd. Harley, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. I want you to know how much I respect your coverage of every damn thing happening in our country. Thank you for having a clear mind, a thinking mind, speaking out loud. Wow. We all have questions. Yeah, of course. Thank you, Harley. I appreciate the love. Real talk. Thank you so much for the words of encouragement, because, some people come onto the show, they see one thing, they only hear one thing, and they just assume one thing, and they just try to go with that. You know what I mean? And I'm just asking questions, just like everybody else, right? What? Yeah, the classic one. Was that planted, or is that the real deal? And I feel like that's so. You see what I'm saying? What's strange is if you do the math, anti-ice, he's going up there to do some bad things, and he obviously this assailant, this monster, wanted to hurt ICE agents. But he didn't hit any ICE agents at all. None. Which makes no sense, right? But written on one of the shell casings is anti-ice. But the people that lost their life and are injured right now are detainees. No one that is ICE affiliated, ICE agent, none of them got hurt. It's weird. Either he's an idiot, this assailant, which he clearly is. He's dumb to do this in the first place, but either he's an idiot and can't tell the difference between civilians and ICE agents, or something weird is going on here. There's some sort of glitch going on. It's weird. Or that anti-ice thing is just there as a red herring, there to just throw everybody off. But we'll see what's going on here. I got questions. I know you guys do too. But that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot. Please do me a favor. All right. I got so many questions, but as we get more information, we'll talk about it. I promise. We'll get into it in a little bit for sure. When we get more updates, I'll let you guys know. Please do me a favor, though, before you head out. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do it, do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms like Facebook, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, I'm on all of them. So make sure you're following over there as well. Make sure you subscribe here on my main channel, okay? Hit that notification bell, set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because a lot of times it's breaking news, all right? And random, all right? Hit that join button down below, become a member, check out my Patreon, check out my locals, and of course, check out PascalMerch.com. All right, guys, it's time to get going. Much love to you guys. When there's more updates, I'll let you guys know very, very soon, all right? Stay safe out there, guys. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.